Hello, I'm Ash Quigley, and welcome to Take Back Your Mind, the place where we hear real stories from insightful and inspiring individuals about how they have reclaimed their minds and lived life to its fullest. In these conversations, you'll hear from people across many walks of life who'll share what it means to be human and navigate their inner and outer worlds with a little more ease and intention. Today, we'll be joined by Aoife Bermingham, who is based in County Dublin, Ireland, actually from my hometown, where she lives with her husband and three young kids. She works part-time from home and is a full-time busy mum who claims that self-care, self-awareness and wellness are her passions, whilst also helping her navigate daily life in a busy world. I'm so glad I'm getting to have this chat with Aoife for a number of reasons. Not only is Aoife someone who I feel really has a unique outlook on life, she also makes the most of every day and really inspires me. But as I said, she's also from my hometown and someone I was lucky enough to spend a lot of time with earlier on this year. So let's get into the chat. So welcome, Aoife. How are you doing? I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's funny seeing your face on the computer because the last time I saw you was on our beach at home here in Portmarnock, and now you're all the way over the other side of the world again.
I know. I'm even looking at the beautiful sunshine at the back there, and we're 6:35 in the pitch black in the second day of winter here.
That's so weird to think like that it's winter there now and it's dark, whereas it's like bright for like 18 hours a day here. The sun is shining finally.
The best.
But yeah, it's weird to think that it's winter somewhere in the world when we're just come out of it.
I know, from where I'd rather be, you are today. So thanks, as I said, for being part of Take Back Your Mind. And as I guess the theme goes with all things mental health and supporting our minds and our physical well-being, I like to start off these sessions by asking people to do a bit of a check-in with themselves. So if you were to say on a scale of 1 to 10 today, where 1 is feeling tired, flat, and 10 is feeling really energized and motivated and really good, where would you say you're sitting today and why?
Right now today, I would say I'm a 5. Normally I'd be an 8, a 9, possibly a 10, but just the last 2 or 3 weeks have been pretty intense. And I know we've spoken off camera about, both of us last Thursday, or Friday, just had crazy days and it all kind of came to a head. So I'd be about a 5. I just feel today, I feel better than I did yesterday. Yesterday would have been a 3. Just so much on. We had a family bereavement a couple of weeks ago, and then you're just trying to catch up on everything. And, I have 3 kids that are 6, 4, and 2. So you're just constantly running around and juggling and work. And so it's been a bit of a mad couple of weeks. And my health has suffered this week because of it, because of the busyness of life. I've just felt really run down. As I was saying to you last Friday, I ended up collapsing and fainting at the car park at Dunn Stores, which is our local supermarket here in Portmarnock. And yeah, just so run down. So, that's kind of where I am today.
Thank you for sharing. And so honestly as well, it's incredible, isn't it, when you go through something as tough as a bereavement, and all you want is the whole world to stop and to actually take that time and to take stock of actually what's happening, but how crazily life actually just continues on all around us. And we either have to struggle to kind of keep up or to catch up, and in some way, those signs and signals definitely come from our bodies to say, this isn't our way of going.
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what's happened to me in the last, few days, is the bereavement, the emotion of just getting back to normal life and catching up with all of life as well, because you kind of put it on hold. I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in Ireland, when somebody passes, life is put on hold for like 5 or 6 days of mourning, and then you just, I would say, go back to your normal life, but you're trying to adapt. And it's just been hugely emotional and just catching up. And when you have your 3 young kids, life still goes on as normal for them, so you're jumping straight back in and there's no break. So yeah, it's a bit like that at the moment in my current circumstances of life. But as you say, it's a wave, and you just ride the wave, ups and downs.
As best as you can.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I of course know you well, but for those watching or listening who may not have come across you before, can you tell us a little bit about you and I guess your journey to how it is that you got to this point in time?
Yeah. Have we got an hour or a day? Yeah. So briefly, try and keep it brief. My name is Aoife. I am from Portmarnock in North County Dublin, where Aisling is from. Aisling and my sister grew up together. Um, and I lived abroad for almost 10 years, lived in Australia and San Francisco and New York. And then I moved home and, settled down, got married, and we now have three earthside kids and one in heaven. So I have a little girl, Kyla, who is 6. My son Shannon is 4, and my daughter Ava is 2. And we did lose one of our sons, Oisin, through stillbirth, coming up to 5 years now. 6 years, sorry, 6 years. And that is where I had like a breaking point in life, as in, when you go through such a trauma and such a horrible experience, it's like an outer body experience. You have to learn and develop a new way of coping through the everyday of life. And, I always say you can take one path. Well, you can take 2 paths. You can take the path of, just not just being in constant mourning and suffering, and you go through all those stages of grief anyway, and then you can just take the other path, which I made a really conscious decision to take from day one of losing Roisin, was that there had to be a better outcome in life, as in I didn't want to just be in a constant anxious state of life, or constant state of just being desperately sad, which obviously you have to go through that for quite a while when you do lose a child or a baby, or anybody really. It's a mourning, but it's a traumatic one too. So my journey was, for the last 5-6 years of that, was just having a completely new outlook on life and realizing how precious it is, and just to literally live and love every single moment that you get on earth. Because one thing I learned through that stage of mourning was, and I had lost another pregnancy previous, was that literally every single person on this earth is a miracle. Everybody that's made it through pregnancy and birth is a miracle. It is the miracle of life, really, and I just feel very privileged to be given a life, and I want to live that one life, because I only have one, as best as I can. So that's kind of where I got today. I really try to enjoy and maximize, even through the tough times and the hard times, know that it's all going to be okay. Life will have a way of working itself out, and the universe will work itself out, and just to, love life, love it. Was that really long?
No, not at all. What a inspiring perspective. And I think that, that just shines through in everything that you do and say and share, both with the wider community, but also within your own family. You can just see that fused into everything that you do. And I mean, going through that, I can't even begin to imagine how that must have felt. But having those 2 choices laid out in front of you, and to say, I can go down the path of just staying in that sadness and that heaviness, or I can choose to make the most of every moment. Often that's a lot easier said than done, I'd imagine. Were there tools or strategies, or, how did you get through that time? Was there anything that you leaned on specifically, or was it just like a putting one foot in front of the other?
No, it was a strategic plan. I am a planner, and I knew that I wanted to work on myself immediately. So like within 3 weeks of losing Oisín, I was starting counselling. You know, within days, I said to my husband, Bobby, I said, Bobby, you know me, I know me. I said, I'm a talker. If you see me going inward and not talking and not, you know, being my usual self, please use that as a red flag and help me. You know, I don't want to go down that path. I want to be who I am, but I need tools to help me. And through my course of my grief and coming, you know, out at different certain stages, that first year was human connection. That was the hugest and biggest thing. Like, we need each other to help each other in our you know, in a grieving stage, especially through a trauma. For me anyway, like, I am surrounded by an amazing group and bunch of, like, I'm so lucky to have the people that I have in my real life, like my family, obviously, my group of friends who I've had, you know, all my life. And then I had my maternity leave girls that I had lots of different groups of friends. You know, I had the girls from maternity leave through Kyla, who were a huge support. We have like we'd be all over Ireland, they could be all over the world, but there was like a group of, say, I don't know, 80 of us. And for the emotional online support, like, that I needed, like 3 o'clock in the morning, because, you know, you're up at all different times of the day. I could just talk to anybody at that time of the day with that group of girls. Then I had my friends that were coming up to my house, my family coming up to my house. And, you know, I had my therapist. You know, I just was really kind to myself too. Like, you know, that's the one thing I learned, was having to take ownership of my life. And as a mother and a wife of the family, I needed me to be like on an even enough keel, because if I'm not, everything else filters down, you know. So that's where I was like, I want Kyla to have a really stable mom. I want her to have a stable family environment. That was what was really important. If I crash and burn, you know, obviously I'm grieving. So I went through some really emotional times. There was times where I just didn't want anybody around me. And that's totally natural. Like, you know, I need my own time. I need my own space. I need to cry into my pillow up in my bedroom for the day or for the hour or whatever. And literally I just took like hour by hour was how I got through life at certain points of that stage. And then it was day by day, then it started becoming week by week, and just over time things got really better. But human connection was the number one thing that helped me and has and continues to help me to this day. You know, my support.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? A human connection, it's not often something that we think about until, and we've all had an experience of it in the last 2 years where it's actually taken away from us. And then it's only then you realize actually how much you need it and how important it is in terms of your mental health. We think of being well as, you know, eating well, getting enough sleep, but actually so many elements such as human connection, which are often go unrecognized until, as I said, the times when you don't have it and you realize how important it is.
Well, I always say there's 3 elements to our health. There's the social, the mental, and the physical. And all 3, you can't just look after one. Like, a lot of people are very conscious about looking after one form of their health, which a lot of the time is their physical health. But very often the other 2 might slide. You really need to, you know, evenly look after the mental, the physical, and the what was the other one? Just, I can't even
social.
You know, and that's why I found, just going back to lockdown and, you know, the last 2 years and things like that, you know, 2 of those were taken away from us a lot of the time. Well, 3 in some cases were taken away. And I think for people who lived by the coast, I don't know what it was like in Australia. I think your lockdowns were a little bit different, but people who lived by the coast literally started, I won't say flocking to the beach. There's not crowds of people on the beach, but a lot of people would have gone out into nature. And people that lived on the coast, you know, the only thing you could really do was jump into the sea, literally jump into the sea, because it had all 3 of the health benefits. It had the social, because you were able to very easily talk to people at your 2 meters apart or whatever it was. You had your mental jumping into the sea, the cold water therapy, and you had physical, of getting out and doing your exercise, and it was a basic all-rounder. So that hugely took off here in Ireland, for the last 2 years, and it still continues to nowadays. People like you, I go down to Port Marnock Beach, I can't believe it, like it'd be January -2, and there's a gang of people in swimming, and it's all day. It's not just morning and evening. There's people down there all day. So it's a great thing to see that people are consciously starting to look after all three of those kind of health.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the conversations have changed, and I think the mentality around well-being, as you said, has changed in Ireland, especially. As we spoke about, I was blown away when I got home and I saw, went down to the beach, and not even just where we're from, but actually across the board. Whereas the social aspects used to always just revolve around the pub, or, the cinema if you're having an off day, off the pub. And
a
lot more outdoorsy. There was so much community, which really playing on that social side, but community paired with physical and mental well-being, which is incredible. So what has been your experience overall with mental health, like, as even before that, like growing up, or what's been your experience of anxiety, mental health generally?
I suppose, I mean, as a teenager, you have normal anxieties and stuff like that. And I would have always been quite a social person, so outgoing kind of person. But in regards to, like, are you saying like my past experiences, like with anxiety and mental health?
Yeah, is that something that you experienced a lot? And it's okay if you say no.
Sorry, the line broke.
Is that something that you experienced when you were growing up, or that you were aware of?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. No, I definitely. I mean, I think we need to normalize the fact that as a teenager, when your hormones and all are changing, when I was growing up, it was never called anxiety or anything like that. It was just called, like, being a teenager. But I think more so now, looking back, I mean, everything, like, you might have an argument with your friend, or you might be, heartbroken over a boy, or they're all little, like, as I say, they're not mini stressors when you're that age, because they're huge to you, but they're all teaching you coping. I think all those things that the normal teenage angsts are little mini stressors, as I like to say, to teach you how to cope and have coping skills with. Being an adult sucks sometimes, but it kind of helps you to regulate your emotions, and to, as I said, have coping skills for the bigger things that might come down the line as you're an adult, so that would have been just like, I didn't have any major traumas or anything like that as a teenager, so to speak. Sorry. So that's that was just the normal stuff when I was growing up. And then, I suppose living abroad would have caused me a bit of anxiety when I was in my 20s. Just being so far away from your family, and, if something did go wrong, you're on your own. Like, you don't have your go-to network of your mom and your dad and things like that. You live abroad as well yourself, that can be quite anxious, and lead to things like that when you're living abroad.
Yeah, and I guess, as you said, that sense of social support, and who is in your network that you call upon when things happen. And if you are abroad, sometimes that can be pretty far away sometimes, which can be hard. But then too, I guess you find your own ways of creating family, maybe with the friends that you've got around you, and that too. But you still can't beat Chanel cup of tea and the kitchen table with your mom and dad putting the rights of the world.
Exactly.
The world to rights, should I say?
Exactly.
So these days, how do you check in with yourself, and what are there any signs or signals that you mentioned there to your husband Bobby when you were going through that horrific time with Oisín, that you said to him, if I'm withdrawing or if I'm going into myself, that's a red flag for you. What are the red flags for you personally that you see in and of yourself these days that kind of tells you, hey, maybe I'm not doing so great, maybe I need to look after myself a little bit better?
So it's just something I've noticed now in the last couple of weeks too, but in the last while, is I tend to get extremely overwhelmed. I can't concentrate on one thing at a time because I feel like I'm always running around trying to do like 3 or 4, 10 different things at a time. And I have to be in different places at different times with the kids and activities and school pickups and all that. And I just get like I'm flying it most of the time. Well, I won't say most of the time, but I just get extremely overwhelmed and agitated. And that to me is the sign that, okay, you need to check in with yourself and you need to take some time out and you need to cancel a lot of things. Like this week I canceled so many things. And a lot of the things that I had to cancel this week were things that were actually good for me, beneficial, like a Reiki or going down to the beach for a swim. I haven't swam this week, which I normally do every day. But I needed to take some time out and just get away from the normal routine and just trying to do too many things at once. And it's actually benefited me a lot because I'm just chilling out, just sitting down and drinking a cup of tea instead of trying to rush out. I have to get my swim in today. I have to get it in today. That's actually sometimes causing me a little bit too much stress. So I just need to realize the stillness in life is just as good for you as trying to run around. Better for you sometimes than trying to run around and doing all these things that are good for your mental health. Sometimes just taking a step back and doing nothing is so important. And I learned that a lot from going to my acupuncturist and Eastern medicine and all that kind of stuff, that just stillness is so important. And we're so busy sometimes that we forget just to be still.
Absolutely. And to do things to not have a purpose or to not have an achievement or a goal outside of it. And even as you said, those things that generally do support our mental health or our well-being, sometimes we can get very, and I'm hands up, I'm totally guilty of this myself, we can get very rigid about them too. And in that rigidity, you nearly end up stressing about doing the thing that's helping you not to stress. And it's like
that is me to a T.
It's like a vicious cycle, and like, hang on a second, take a step back, what's going on here? So
absolutely, like that is
as a busy mom of 3, and also you work part-time, how do you make time to look after you in and amongst all that? Because I know, as a mom, you're so busy looking after everyone else, making sure they're all okay and doing the activities and they're feeling good mentally, physically, emotionally. How do you look after you in the midst of all that?
I make sure every single day that there is time carved out for me, whatever. Like as I said at the start, I'm a planner. Sometimes plans don't always go the way they need to be. That's fine. But I always plan out some kind of self-care for me every day. Without a fail, I have to do something for me every day. Now, a lot of the time I could be just putting the kids to bed and then I'm just going to go straight to bed. I'll do a nice little face mask on myself for 10 minutes and go to bed. Or I might, after the school run, go for my sea swim, or go before the school run, or, go for a walk on the beach or whatever. But a lot of the time it's as simple as literally putting the kids to bed, making myself a nice cup of mint tea, and literally going and lying on my bed and putting a face mask on and going to bed. The everyday thing that I have to do to survive my day with the 3 kids and work and all that other stuff is I go to bed early and I get a good night's sleep as best as I can. That, like, for me, sleep is the most important thing in the world. I cannot function without my sleep. I don't need a lot of it, but I need a consistent amount. So I am a early to bed, early to rise kind of a person. So that would be what I would kind of do on a daily basis, is get a bit of self-care in every day. As I said, it could be 10 minutes, whatever, and a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I love that. So important. And it really is the foundation on everything else, really, isn't it? Sleep. So, in talking about ways that you do, take back your mind when you feel like you aren't feeling at your greatest and you feel those red flags are coming, you feel like you're getting agitated. Has there been other things, you've talked a little bit about there, the C dips or your face masks or whatever it is. Are there other things that maybe you've tried and tested along your journey that maybe haven't worked for you that you feel like, that's not for me?
God, it could be. See, you've put me on the spot there now. Jesus, probably I'll get off here now. Like, oh, why didn't I say that? Um, like I suppose as a consistent one that I've tried to be consistent with is running. Like I know people go out for a run and it really clears their mental health and they feel great after it. I don't. I do like, oh sorry, that's my alarm going off. I do like, going for the odd run here and there, but for me as a consistent form of, release and mental health and all that and physical health, no, that would not be for me. So yeah, the running thing definitely. Trying to think if there's another one.
It's an interesting
But
one
that would
though,
probably be
even
the
as
one
you
I think of.
mentioned that, the running and it's seeming like it's a good idea, because everyone else does it and they feel like, it
Yeah,
helps them significantly. And it's not always what's the best thing for us. And you
yeah,
actually really
yeah,
need to be checking in with yourself regularly on that to say, okay, if I'm going out and doing this thing, what's behind it? Is it because I think, I need to lose weight, or is it because I
yeah,
think
yeah,
everyone else is doing it, so it must be the thing that I need to do, or I should, or whatever it might be. And that actually,
yeah,
when you look into it really, like it's actually probably not the best thing for
yeah.
you at all and might even cause you more harm than good.
Exactly. Because if it's not feeling, if you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't like purely because you think it looks good or it's going to make you do this or look, lose a bit of weight or whatever. And if that's what you want to do in life, then find something that is going to suit your lifestyle. Like maybe you like a bit of yoga or Pilates or something, but especially with running, I wouldn't be forcing myself to do something like that. For a physical and mental activity.
No, I say this from experience with my new moon boot after forcing myself to trial out a high intensity week
Yeah,
trial, failing miserably. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that one.
yeah, hitting that one on the nail, the nail on the head with that one.
You have built a wonderful community on social media where you share your love and passions of travel and wellness and beauty and sea dunks. With those who are part of your community, I know that you get a lot of engagement and you hear a lot from them. What are the main things that you hear that people are challenged with at the moment? And how do you reckon that's maybe changed over the last few years?
A lot of the time I hear from people is I wish I could do this or I could never do that, you know, in regards to different things in life. And I always message them back or converse with them and I'm saying, well, you can do anything you want in life. That's your mind telling you. But maybe if you flick that switch a little bit, just a tiny little mini change in your life and say, do you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go for it. Because life is all literally about taking risks and going for it. And if you don't sometimes take that risk or that challenge, or change your mindset to say that I can, you could be, and you probably are missing out on huge potential for your own life, for your mental health, your physical health, all that kind of stuff. Like, people would say to me, oh, I could never get into the sea, or I can't do that, or I can't. I literally woke up one day. I used to be walking around Portmarnock in the middle of winter with the baby in the stroller, and I'd see these people going sea swimming, and I'd be like, they're mad. My God, they're mad. But in the back of my head, I was like, I'd love to be like them. I'd love to be able to do that, but I never could. I was like, I never would. I wouldn't even want to. Oh, imagine feeling that cold. And I literally just woke up one day in January and I said, tomorrow I'm actually going to go for a sea swim. I'm just going to do it. Like, if I don't like it, I don't actually ever have to do it again, but at least I can say I did it. And I did. It was -2, but it was absolutely beautiful sunny day out. I thought I was going to snap in half with the cold. I was like, what am I doing? I got down for 5 seconds. It was like 5 minutes to me. It was literally 5 seconds because the girls were like, there was girls holding my hand. They were like 1, 2, 3. And I thought I was going to snap in half. But as the day went on, I just felt so amazing. It was like this euphoria I'd never felt in my body ever again. And I went back the next week, and then I started going every day. And that really made me realize, wow, like your mind is just telling you can't or you don't want to do something. But if your subconscious is kind of in the back of your head saying, I'd love to do that, you know, maybe one day or whatever, just do it. Because at least to say you've tried it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's just a small example I'm giving as, you know.
So true. What do you think changed from that day, from the day before to that day when you said, you know what, I'm going to do it? What do you think changed?
Just a whole new change in my mindset, and the people that have brought into my life, like the community of people that I have now who are really great friends. Like I'm friends with some of these people 2 years now through lockdown, things like that. And I just think of how richer my life is for that community in my life. It's part of my everyday now. And I literally live, as you know, right across the road from the beach. And I would have always gone down and walked on the beach or whatever, you know, but just having that sense of community, and, you know, I talk to them every day and I meet them every day and different people every day. It's such a great thing to experience. Like, I just feel so grateful and so blessed every day that I live in such a wonderful community with like-minded people. Like, nobody down there is sad, or, you know what I mean? Or if they are, they're down there to try and make themselves happy, you know? So you have a real sense of everybody's equal. Like, I don't know, I could be talking to a high court judge, or I could be talking to, I don't know, anybody. I don't know, like any walk of life I could be talking to, but I don't know like, you know, I don't need to know what somebody's job is or title in life. We're all just, as I said, just there for our own reasons, and we have a friendship and a camaraderie and a community feel, like, you know, so it's great. That's been, as I said, we're going back to the human connection thing. It all boils down to human connection. And you know, that's what, to me, what is most important is the human connection of life with your family, your friends, and your community. And I've really learned that in the last couple of years, is community is so huge. Like, to live in such an amazing community and by the coast is just, it's a blessing.
It sure is. It sure is. It's interesting when you were saying there, you know, about people coming down, and it doesn't matter whether they're a high court judge or whoever they are, and also how it is that they're showing up. You know, they may very well be sad, but they may also very well be on top of the world.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing I think about, and I know I speak from experience because obviously I know that community well, is that it doesn't matter how it is that you're showing up. It just matters that you're showing up. And I think that's the main thing behind it all, that, you know, that you do show up and you are there, but it doesn't matter in what way that is. But just by the very nature of knowing, caring, and just recognizing that everyone's human and everyone's going through stuff. It doesn't matter whether it's a good day or a bad day. It's just a day, but it just matters that you're there. And that feeling of belonging and connection is actually what's important.
Exactly. And we have we call the shelters the confession box now, because, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved. You know, everybody's down there to lend a listening ear for each other and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you're having a bad day, there's always somebody there that you can talk to, or, you know, if you're having a good day, there's always somebody there to share your good news or your good experiences with too. Like, so
it's a beautiful space. So I know obviously I'm not a mom myself, but I know with a lot of my mom friends, and also I work with a lot of women who are moms, that there can, and just I guess being a general woman and a human, that there can tend to be a lot of guilt or the shoulds, you know, and as I said, that comes with just being a general human too. Do you have strategies or ways, you know, mindset wise, that you deal with your own inner critic, or do you have a loud inner critic? You may not. And if so, if you do.
So I don't have a loud inner critic. I really don't. Like Aisling, I never suffer from mom guilt, and I really try and, I won't say never suffer from mom guilt, but I really, if I do start to feel something like that, I really just like, have that chat with myself. I'm like, I wake up every day trying to do the best I can for my family and my friends. Sorry, there's a couple of flies after coming in. I have the door open. Sorry, for my kids, my family, I am always going to be doing my best. Sorry, I'm just wishing a fly away here. And at the end of the day, if you're doing your best, that's all that matters in your life. I suppose sometimes on social media, I get a few, and I think this is the worst thing, is other moms portraying their guilt on, or trying to make you feel guilty for things. I've had a couple of messages like that on social media. Like last year when I went to Spain with my daughter over to visit my parents took Kyla for a few hours, and I went off and met my friend on the beach, and we had a couple of drinks, and I was meeting my parents and my daughter for dinner that night. But anyway, I got a message at like 3:00 in the morning from another woman saying, something about, you're supposed to be on holidays with your daughter. What are you doing meeting your friend? Like, do you know what I mean? And I was just like, that's all on you, girl. That's all on you. That's your problem. I mean, anybody that tries to make somebody feel guilty for doing something, or taking a few hours out to meet a friend, like it's normal to meet a friend. Do you know? I just think these things need to be normalized. And a lot of women and a lot of moms do feel guilty for doing certain things or whatever, and they, I just think it's very important to remember, if you're trying your best, that's all you can do, and not to beat yourself up about things. Once your kids are happy, fed, loved, all that kind of stuff, that's all that you need to do. And then the next most important thing is to look after yourself. You can't look after everybody in the family if you can't look after yourself as well. So it's really important to not feel the mom guilt and to take time out for yourself. Because before you were a mom, you were you, and you still are you, and you need to look after you. So I don't beat myself up about feeling guilty or mom guilt, or, I didn't bring my kids to this. Oh, it's saying my connect. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you see me? Yeah, sorry. No, just a thing came up on my computer saying my internet connection was unstable. It's gone now. Yeah, I just think we all need to just try our best. And if you're doing your best, then that's all that matters in life.
Wise words. With being quite active on social media, how do you find the balance between, getting caught up in the scroll and actually living your life? Because I know from speaking to people, social media can get a bad rap, but also it can be a really wonderful tool for communication and for and for inspiration and surrounding yourself by good things. So how do you find the balance?
So I have limits on my phone and all that, but that can often be easier said than done. Sorry, Bobby's coming in and out. It can be easier said than done. So I am very strict with, like, a lot of the time, people might think I'm on every day, but a lot of the time I might have created all my content on a Sunday over an hour or two, and I'm sharing it out through the week. So I plan a lot of my content if I can. Some weeks I don't. Like, there's a lot of, you'll rarely find me on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, because they're my working days. So if I need to plan or put on content or come on for a chat, it's generally going to be between Friday to Monday. So it's about planning. And some days I don't have time to plan, and so I'll just pop on and do whatever. Or but yeah, it is all, as I said, down to strategic planning. But the scrolling thing, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold my hands up. I waste probably a lot more time than I should scrolling, because it's so easy to get caught up in it. And I was actually just planning out. So I'm going away tomorrow till next Wednesday. And so I'll be doing a lot of travel content, because I'm going to Lisbon and Barcelona. So I'll be creating a bit of content over the next few days, and I'll share a bit, but I'm actually going to do a digital detox. As in, digital detox, but I'm just going to take a few days off and away and have, to have stuff planned to just upload on my own page. But I am going to make sure, like, I'm not going to be scrolling. I really need to make a conscious effort not to be scrolling when I come back, because I just, it's just I feel in the last couple of weeks I've been scrolling a lot, and being on WhatsApp as well, with the family bereavement and stuff like that. I've been on WhatsApp a lot and tend to try not to be on WhatsApp too much, just to dip in and out. So I suppose if you're just a bit more conscious about it and just take some time out and take it away for a few days, when you go back into it, you won't be scrolling as much, or because you'll be like, I had a break and that was great.
Rewire those brain patterns and get a bit more intentional.
Exactly. I really try to live life in the present a lot of the time. Anyway, I have to with the kids, because I'm running around and here, there, and everywhere. So I think it's just important to try and be as present and less scrolling. So I'm going to do that next week.
Yeah. Beautiful. For anyone who might be listening or watching this, do you have any words of advice? If you could give one piece of advice in terms of how people can take back their own minds based on your own life experience, what would you say?
I would say, for me anyway, what I tend to do when I feel like life is just getting overwhelming, and you just want to take back your life and your mind, because the jibber jabber that goes on in our heads sometimes is crazy. And it was one thing that, like, we make a lot of scenarios. We play, as one of the girls I go to for Reiki says, we play movies in our mind a lot of the time. We tend to overanalyze, and we make perceptions of people and things all playing out in our mind, and our mind's going to overload then. And it's another thing then, I like that tool when she always tells me, like, we make movies in our mind. I'm like, yeah, that's so true, actually. But another bit of advice I was given from my therapist was 80% of what we worry about never happens. So when I think of the movies and the 80% and I want a quiet mind, I tend to just go back into my meditation, and I won't say I journal, but I write. I plan and I write. If I need to have quiet time for myself, and I figure out the essentials and the necessities and the priorities that I do need to get done throughout the day. And then everything else can just go to the wayside, because my mind needs to quieten and it needs to just be still. And it's like what I spoke about earlier. This week I've done that a lot, and I have had to take out a lot of the things that I do for myself, but I just need some quiet and still time. And that's really important. So that's what I would just say to people. Write down what your priorities in life are, and carve in some serious quiet time for yourself, and go for a walk, listen to a podcast, just quieten the mind down. And remember, stop playing those movies in your head.
Yeah, it's amazing what we can actually hear when we start paying attention to it, and we realize what's going on and under the surface all day, every day.
Yeah.
If someone listening to this, something has resonated and they want to reach out to you, or they want to find out more about what it is that you do, or want to play along with them, all that you share, how can they find you?
The best way to find me would probably be on Instagram, which is basically, I don't know if you put it up there, but it's just at Aoife.Bermingham. And DM me, whatever you need to do. Watch my stories, I don't care. Join in, and I'm always there for a DM. I get a lot of people messaging me and throwing me some DMs, just, not just for advice, but just, asking general things, or just networking and connecting. And I'm all down for that.
That human connection in all its forms.
Yeah.
Last but not least, before we go, is there an ask? Is there something that we can help you with, or I can help you with?
Oh God, where do I start, Aisling? Like, this is not going to end. I do love your newsletters that I get emails to me every week, actually, because I do get some really little nuggets of inspiration and information there. So I would just say keep them coming. And will you come back to Ireland soon and do it with me? Please.
I would love that. I would love that.
Because I didn't get to go on your last one because I ended up going away a couple of weeks later after that. But yeah, come back to Ireland.
Someday soon, hopefully. It's nice to chat to you though and see it in the background. I feel like I've got a little slice at home, which has been nice.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Aoife, for being part of our Take Your Mind Back series.
So much for asking me.
It's been wonderful to chat to you as always, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again and hopefully in real life very, very soon.
Fingers crossed. Thanks for having me. It was great. I really enjoyed it.